right, my name is Sonia Hernandez. I'm an associate professor at the University of Georgia. I'm in a split position. I'm kind of fortunate to be in a weird position where I get to impact undergraduates, graduates, and veterinary students. And I do primarily wildlife disease research. I am in this split position between the Warnell School of Forestry and Natural Resources and the College of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Georgia. And what I want to talk to you about today are emergent diseases of wildlife, and specifically what the public wants to know about some of those things. But then I'm going to sneak in there what I think you should tell them, really. All right, so when we took our Hippocratic Oath, we made a commitment to use our scientific knowledge and skills for the better of the society, and in particular to protect public health. And indeed, veterinarians are a very highly trusted bridge between science and the general public. And as the world watched the world's worst Ebola epidemic, it's very likely that people were turning to the public health officials for information about Ebola, but less likely that they were turning towards the veterinarians. And that's a bit of a shame because Ebola, as you know, is caused by a virus that's actually a zoonotic disease. It's shed by bats, it spills over into animals that are then consumed by people, and it's really a disease as a result of the encroachment of people into wildlife habitat. And that's another case is Hendra virus, which is a paramyxovirus also shed by bats. And what you see here are urban roosting colonies of flying foxes, and Hendra virus emergence is associated with these colonies that provide the opportunity for virus spilling over into horses and humans. Just last month, the USDA announced that they found H5 virus in northern pintails during a waterfowl investigation, and 3 days later, in a backyard poultry operation in the state of Oregon. And we are very concerned about avian influenza. And a new player, Chikungunya virus, a mosquito-borne virus that causes severe joint pain in people, and which we think might be a major public health disaster spreading from the Caribbean. So all of these things make you really concerned, and of course people want to know, how do they affect me? How do they affect my pets, my livestock? Do they influence the community? And they should be coming to veterinarians for information and accurate information about the epidemiology of the zoonotic of these diseases for sure. But veterinarians, remember, we're also here to protect animal welfare and animal health. And so what I hope is that we veterinarians also play a role in trying to shift some of the attention, not away from public health necessarily, but towards wildlife health in addition. The impact we're having on the world is unprecedented. What you're seeing here is a dead gorilla that was poached that's being carried out by park rangers. And this brings it back to Ebola, because a third of the world's gorilla population died between 1992 and 2007 from Ebola. And because Ebola affects gorillas before it affects humans, it's important for us to know how this virus circulates in the forest, in its wild environment. White nose syndrome was introduced into the US. It's a fungal disease that was brought here, we think from Europe, by people visiting caves. It's killed millions of bats and it threatens to disrupt their major ecological function, which is to eat insects. And speaking of other insect eaters, amphibians are also undergoing die-offs from Rhinovirus, an iridovirus that we've known about for a little bit of time, and we're just sort of learning, and especially because it's now affecting some of the most highly charismatic species like box turtles. And it was also spread throughout the world through the animal movement for the pet trade, for food, and for research. Other diseases, for example, chytridomycosis, are things that we've known about for a long time, and we now think that we know everything there is to know about the original fungal cause of chytridomycosis, but now there's a new one that emerged last year that's actually killing fire salamanders in Europe, and so we have to be concerned about that. And there's a whole host of diseases that are caused by the aggregation of wildlife when we supplementally feed them. For example, diseases that affect songbirds. And we know now that at least a couple of them, like Salmonella and Trichomonas, are causing songbird declines in Europe. So hopefully what you heard me say throughout some of these examples is that there's some mechanisms behind the emergence of these diseases, and those mechanisms are the same, whether the disease is zoonotic or one that just affects wildlife itself. So there's two things that I want you to remember from this talk about the role of veterinarians. Surely we are here as information for the accurate information about the zoonotic diseases, but we also want to highlight these mechanisms that are behind the emergence of diseases. We're the ones that know about this, and also we want to reshape the thinking that people have about the research of wildlife diseases being just about reservoirs for human diseases. Wildlife get their own diseases that affect just them, and they're just as important because in the end they affect all of us. There's many organizations that are doing great work to support this work, like the Wildlife Disease Association, and I hope that all of you guys get involved. Thank you very much.